Good evening and welcome. Beginning with our chants as usual. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. Whatever the virtues of the many fields of knowledge, all are steps on the path of omniscience. May these arise in the clear mirror of intellect. O Manjushri, please accomplish this. Okay, good evening and welcome. So tonight we go through the preliminaries. We start with entering into the formal practice of Mahamudra by practicing or reading about how to practice the preliminaries that are traditional for this lineage and this practice. So we're on chapter 6 of which is in part 2, the uncommon samadhis. Chapter 6, preliminaries. The exposition of the preliminaries for the meditation process, which has 3 parts, starting with the sequence of the path of the general teachings. Broadly speaking, as individuals who are tired of the sufferings of samsara and who have set their sights on liberation, we engage the precious teachings of the Buddha. How many of us are tired of the sufferings of samsara? How many of us haven't had enough? Want more sufferings? Just checking. The sequence for the practice of the genuine Dharma is as follows. First, as the root of the path, we should seek out and study with a qualified spiritual mentor, having examined them thoroughly. So that would mean Takpatashi Namgyal, the author of this book, would be an appropriate spiritual mentor, or authentic teachers of that lineage. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. We are on page 149, which has no page. And Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, Punlap Rinpoche, Mingyur Rinpoche, many teachers in this lineage available today. Elizabeth Callahan, and so forth. Then we should take up the appropriate training in ethical conduct as the ground from which virtues spring forth, and maintain that correctly. We should listen closely to the teachings of the victor, meaning the Buddha, not Victor, generally and particularly to the Dharma that is the graduated path for the 3 kinds of beings. In the context of the graduated path teachings known as Lamrim in Tibetan, the 3 kinds of beings are those who are interested in their own well-being and furthering their own well-being within samsara. The second type of beings are those who wish to exit samsara for their own benefit. And the third type of beings are those great heroes who want to achieve enlightenment in order to benefit and increase the well-being of all sentient beings. So the first class of beings are those who are content with samsara. They haven't had enough suffering. They think, or they mistakenly think, they can find a happy place in samsara, such as the God realm. And the second class of beings are the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, who are focused on achieving arhatship for their own benefit and departing, checking out. And the third class of beings are the Bodhisattvas, those who aspire to Buddhahood for the sake of all other sentient beings. So we listen closely to those teachings about the graduated path for those three kinds of beings, is that is the undeceiving path that brings irreversibility, meaning we don't go backwards on the path, and will unite our mind with the genuine Dharma. Having a single moment of theoretical understanding of what we have heard does not yield much. We must repeatedly reflect well on the meaning. Then, from deep within, we should turn away from our attachments to the alluring appearances of this life and arouse an exceptional state of mind directed towards definite goodness in future lives. By scrutinizing whatever we might arrogantly do for the sake of the Dharma, we will recognize that anything that looks like casual Dharma, Dharma for a livelihood, Dharma for erudition, or ostentatious Dharma will not benefit our future lives and will be of some harm. That's a pretty interesting statement, isn't it? That sort of scratches in a certain way that may not be that pleasant for some people. So it's easy to all agree that we're not going to arrogantly do anything for the sake of the Dharma. Um, but we should turn away from, where are we? Sorry. We recognize that anything looks like casual Dharma. It's like the mindfulness movement these days, I guess. Dharma for a livelihood, that's a tough one. I mean, there are many, many Dharma teachers who teach for livelihood these days, and given the reality of our society, um, that's how they need to support themselves. Our society no longer has, our society does not have what Asia had for many centuries, which was a system where lay Buddhists would support the, the monastic community and the teachers. Um, so there's many teachers that um, teach the Dharma for a livelihood, and I think that would not be what is talked about here, because I think we're all quite grateful that there are these teachers available who have dedicated their life to teaching the Dharma, and that's what they do, and they need to survive. Dharma for erudition, meaning like scholars in universities. Ostentatious Dharma, like those who compete in the meditation Olympics. So these will not be of benefit. If you've never seen the Meditation Olympics, you can Google that if you're interested, and check out the Meditation Olympics. We will delight in undertaking the cultivation of the proper practice of the Dharma to whatever degree we can. Nagarjuna says, listening increases prajna. Once you have both listened and reflected, cultivate meditation fully. Unsurpassable city will result. The treasury of Abhidharma by Vasubandhu states those who are ethical, who listen and reflect, can practice meditation well. So ethical conduct as the foundation, Shila, and then study, listening, reflecting, and then meditation. The first stages of meditation by Kamala Shila teaches first generate the prajna arising from listening. That brings retention of the meaning of the scriptures, then using the prajna arising from reflection, where we analyze what we have heard, we contemplate it, we think about it. Differentiate between the definitive and the provisional teachings. Provisional teachings are those which point out the ultimate nature and are and do so in a way that does not depend upon time and place and circumstance of the students and so forth, which is what provisional teachings are. Provisional teachings being specific for a certain situation, time, place, or student, or practice, and therefore have limited applicability. Next, relying on the meaning that has been distinguished, meditate on the true nature, not on what is not true. And so we read these things and we gloss over them. Oh, okay, we do that. But traditionally, the the step here of differentiating the definitive and provisional meanings is a significant one and an extensive one that's actually done in a deliberate manner where one researches the different scriptures of the different turnings of the wheel of the Buddha in order to determine what is the ultimate view that we're trying to cultivate in our meditation practice. And that's what was presented in the last chapter on generating confidence. If you don't do that, meditate on the true nature, you will be meditating incorrectly and won't have removed your doubts. Correct cognition will not arise. Consequently, your meditation will be pointless, similar to the meditation of Tirthakas, God forbid. So Tirthakas are non-Buddhists. So he's pretty hard line. He's pretty harsh. And the whole idea these days that like mindfulness and the general sort of pervasion of mind of meditation practice through yoga and other aspects of our culture, many people view as a good thing, like it produces um, it helps produce ethical behavior and lays the foundation for many people then to enter into the Dharma. But he's pretty hardline about meditating as a non-Buddhist, a Tirthaka, as a materialist. That being the case, it is best right from the start that those with less capacity to practice the profound meaning are guided through the gradual path for the three types of beings, a process that is likened to climbing stairs. So being realistic, most teachers that come from the east to the west these days begin with teaching the basics of Buddhism, the the Four Noble Truths, impermanence, suffering, and the cause of suffering, and how to lessen suffering, reduce that cause, and the path. The lamp that summarizes conduct says so that sentient beings with beginner's karma may enter the genuine reality. The perfect Buddhas presented this method, sorry, which is like a set of stairs, the two-part, meaning the Hayvajra Tantra states. How are unfortunate sentient beings, the recalcitrant, to be trained? The Bhagavan replied, first give them the Poshada. The Poshada is, I believe, the recitation of faults or confession of fault ceremony that the monastic community performs every 2 weeks. Then the 10 points for training. Presumably the 10 points are the 10 virtuous actions, which is giving up the 10 unvirtuous actions. Next, give them Vaibhashika teachings. So this, the Hayvajra Tantra, interestingly, this very important Vajrayana text, Tantra, one of the main tantras for the new schools of Tibetan Buddhism, meaning Kagyu, Sakya, and Gelug, emphasizes that we should study the tenet systems of the four Buddhist schools, which is what Vaibhashika and the remaining ones are. And the Vaibhashika teachings are those of the particularists, and they're very particular about everything. Then those are the Sautrantika, and who have a very sophisticated way of understanding how perception and cognition happen, and really advance the understanding of what mind is and how mind works and how to work with mind in a big way. And then the Yogacara being an alternate term for Chittamatra meaning mind only, Yogacara being the practitioner's tradition, and those who practice yoga. But the difference in the tenet systems between Sautrantika and Yogacara is that Yogacara hold that all phenomena are not different from our mind. So there's no external, independently existent matter, but everything is a mental experience. All there are mind experiences. Yogachara. Following that, teach them Madhyamaka, which is the middle way between the various extremes, mostly of existence and non-existence. Once they understand the stages of mantra, which they haven't listed, or the Buddha, hasn't listed, but presumably that means the lower tantra systems of the Kriya, Charya, and Upa, or Yoga, Yana tantras. Um, they may then be taught Hevajra, which is Niruta Tara Tantra. Students who take this up with devotion will become accomplished, have no doubt. The main point being a graduated path. Thus, it is taught that first beings should be trained on the stages of the yanas and gradually in the mantra path. So that's the big point, is that we don't just dive into Mahamudra, we don't just dive into Vajrayana tantric practices, but we have a deep respect and for the importance of understanding the earlier stages of the path as presented in the graduated path teachings, and how important those are for making us ready for the tantric teachings or the Mahamudra teachings by educating us and taming our body, speech, and mind, and orienting us to the type of appreciation of the teachings and the teacher and the situation and so forth that is so essential for understanding and having success in the practice of Mahamudra and Tantra. The description of the preliminaries for this system's path. It is necessary to know the differences between the two types of individuals who practice the profound meaning. Fortunate ones with training from prior lives are gifted because they can be taught the profound path immediately. Those with beginner's karma, however, should be taught the profound path gradually. This is stated in the earlier authoritative text and the later authoritative texts, which, if I remember the footnote correctly, are by Tilopa and Naropa. Given the differences in individuals' intellectual capacities, there are gradual types and instantaneous types. A powerful medicine for the gradual type is a strong poison for the instantaneous type. A powerful medicine for the instantaneous type is poison for the gradual type. So not only are teachings that are not appropriate to individuals given their proclivities and stages of the path, not only are certain teachings not helpful or inappropriate, but actually damaging, actually harmful if approached inappropriately. Those possessing the continuity of training should be taught as the instantaneous type. Those who exhibit the features of someone who has trained extensively in a prior life, such as those individuals called tulkus in the Tibetan system, who from early childhood exhibit all sorts of behaviors indicating their prior training. Sentient beings with beginner's karma should be taught as the gradual type. People like myself that were just incredibly neurotic from birth and showed no signs of any prior training. Accordingly, the way to teach this profound path is as follows. The exalted Gampopa presents this as a short path that does not depend on secret mantra, and therefore he does not say that the maturing abhishekas are required as preliminaries. So we're in the Gampopa tradition here. He teaches the way to lead students to the nature of mind that relies only on taking refuge in the three jewels, and the gurus cultivating kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, offering mandalas to those sources of refuge, confessing negative actions, and supplicating with fervent devotion. Furthermore, those of highest abilities, who are instantaneous types, first investigate the view and then are given the esoteric instructions on the methods for resting evenly right within that view. This is similar to the guidance given these days according to the 4 syllables of Mahamudra, which is a famous text on Mahamudra, I think by Saraha. Those of lesser abilities who are gradual types are guided to shamatha and then gradually through Vipassana. This is similar to the guidance given nowadays according to the instructions on connate union. I'm not sure who wrote that text. The reason for stating that there are these two approaches can be understood from the instruction manuals, advice, and questions and answers in Gampopa's precious collected works, and from the Exalted One's advice preserved in the collected works of the glorious Pakmo Drupa and the Exalted Dusum Khenpa. So if you look in the notes, Gampopa has 4 volumes or texts of Q&A between him and his senior advanced students. And I think what the author is getting at, and those texts get at, is that the training and experience that those individuals exhibited and went through are not common to all sentient beings and were highly unusual. Then later ones in the practice lineage incorporated elements to conform with the practices of secret mantra, creating the renowned fivefold Mahamudra system. So what he's saying that's not, I think, that clear is that early on in the Mahamudra tradition, the transmission of Mahamudra from teacher to student was much more oriented towards instantaneous type students that were either exceptional from birth or had already completed extensive training in other situations when they encountered those teachers such as Gampopa. However, later, masters of the tradition assembled different practices into a sort of progression that thereby helped one accomplish the early preparatory stages of the path that are so essential in the manner of a long rim or a graded ladder. And a famous example of this is the renowned fivefold Mahamudra system of the Drikung tradition. So to conform with the practice of secret mantra created the renowned fivefold Mahamudra systematization of bodhicitta, yidam deities, guru yoga, sequential meditations on Mahamudra, implying shamatha vipassana, and concluding dedication. So those are the 5 aspects. Bodhicitta, which includes and assumes refuge. Yidam deity, connecting to a yidam. Guru yoga, and connecting to a yidam in this case can include offering, mandala offering type practice, guru yoga, and so forth. The instructions on connate union and the 4 syllables, 2 major early texts, also were joined with a 4-fold preliminary practice that gives rise to meditation reflections on impermanence, meditations and recitations of Vajrasattva, mandala offerings, and guru yoga. So we see the beginnings of what we encounter today as the Nundro, the preliminary practices of Tibetan Buddhism, arranged in a definite sequential order before practicing tantric practices. If that is the approach we undertake, since it is one that is mixed with secret mantra, it is definitely necessary to receive either an extensive or abbreviated ripening abhisheka first, meaning that if one is going to practice Mahamudra in these sort of contexts that includes deity yoga practice, yidam deities, Vajrasattva meditation, and so forth, then the abhishekas are essential. The Mahamudra Tilaka famous text observes, if there is no abhisheka, there will be no city, just as pressing sand will not yield butter, which is a very famous statement and indicates how abhisheka is considered to be essential in the tantric path, because it places it transmits the seed of awakening, the and moistens that seed. So without that, the students are considered to be sand. We don't possess the seed. And this little bit sort of contradictory idea in that it is different from the idea that we all possess Buddha nature and it just needs to be woken up or moistened. But there's a little bit further implication in this scheme. The Buddha Kapala comments when a vina has no strings, and I think a vina is I'll guess, a stringed instrument. It cannot be strummed. Analogously, when you lack abhisheka, you cannot practice mantras or meditative concentration. Thus, to engage with the main instructions of Mahamudra alone according to the system of the exalted Kampopa does not require receiving the ripening abhishekas. We can practice according to the preliminaries taught by the exalted Kampopa himself without doing the meditations and recitations of Vajrasattva, generating oneself as a deity, generating the Guru as Vajradharana, requesting abhisheka, and so forth. So that is possible, but it's so much more beneficial when it's combined with Vajrayana practice, which requires abhisheka and those preliminary nundro practices. However, we may wonder, are not the counting and retention of breath found in the shamatha? Rob?
Um, to be clear, this emphasis on Abhisheka is really sort of a long way around talking about devotion, right?
It's not explicit, but it is talking about devotion. But at the same time, you can't dismiss the specificity of their use of the term abhisheka and say that one can proceed with just devotion. But
No, no, that's not my point. My point is that the Abhisheka is a skillful means of expressing devotion and receiving I guess, the ability to properly express it. Or
they
it opens
certainly
like it's sort of like opening a gate for it.
they certainly go hand in hand. Usually, however, it's expressed that devotion is required for abhisheka to work, to be beneficial, and that when one possesses devotion, then one receives adhisthana from the abhisheka, the anointing that is offered through the abhisheka process. Um, but I think maybe you're hinting at what Gampopa, um, what we're told that Gampopa came up with or presented is that uh, genuine devotion is a sufficient basis for practicing Mahamudra without Abhisheka.
Right.
But it's an interesting point.
But I'm thinking that the Abhishek is a sort of in a sense it's a blessing of the lineage. Am I right about that? I mean it connects you to the whole system.
It is. It connects you to the whole system. So, that phrase, connecting to the lineage, I think is separate from devotion. There's like this karmic connection that's established. And technically, what Abhisheka does is it's the entering in of the student into the mandala of the deity, which goes a little bit further. So you're now like,
So in a sense the Abhishek intensifies or is an opportunity to intensify that devotion because now you're entering in to what you're devoted to.
definitely, definitely, yes, big time. Thank you. However, we may wonder are not the counting and retention of breath found in the shamatha instructions a yoga of secret mantra. They are not, because sutra-oriented shamatha practices include numerous explanations on counting the breath, following it, and so on. Nevertheless, nowadays it appears that practitioners meditate on Mahamudra and secret mantra by blending them, and that enhances their realization. So he's talking about his time period, 16th century, and this remains a common feature up until this day that practitioners are encouraged to practice Nundro and receive Abhisheka into a Yidam deity mandala and practice as to go along with Mahamudra practice. It's not required, but it is encouraged. The preliminary practices also incorporate many mantra practices. If we engage in that manner, it is definitely necessary to receive the ripening abhishekas first. If that is our way of proceeding with Mahamudra practice, we must receive abhisheka. Furthermore, in the case of a yidam such as Chakrasamvara with consort, it is necessary to receive either an extensive or abbreviated abhisheka that has a pure source in the tantras and contains the flow of blessings of the lineage, which is what Robert was just talking about. The the explanation of the preliminaries in this context has two parts, beginning with the uncommon preliminaries that has 5 sections, beginning with the contemplations on impermanence and the like, to overcome laziness, beginning on page 154. Through carefully contemplating the difficulties of acquiring the leisures and opportunities of a precious human existence. It's funny how they use the term leisure, which, to us sounds a little bit like approaching laziness, but the way to make it meaningful once acquired, this precious human birth once acquired, the way it can quickly change due to its impermanence, the way our karma takes control once we die, the way karma will mature without losing its potency, how we will experience actions and their results in 3 ways. The attendant sufferings, which I won't go into, the attendant sufferings of the 6 classes of beings of samsara and the problems of the seeming happiness within existence. That's an interesting phrase, the problems of the seeming happiness within existence. Presumably, the main problems are that it doesn't last and that one develops attachment for them. We will arouse a strong motivation to strive for liberation. Since that is the root of Dharma, it is most important at all times. It is well known that revulsion is the foot of meditation, and that revulsion is the master of meditation. If we leave those contemplations as a one-time theoretical understanding, at first our meditation may develop, but afterwards not only will we be unable to suppress our attachment, aversion, and confusion, the 3 roots, sometimes translated as passion, aggression, and ignorance, but interesting translation by Elizabeth here, attachment, aversion, confusion, we will be under the sway of the sense pleasures, such as food and clothing, and the seduction of fame and desires. The reason it is so rare that practice is brought to fruition comes down to just this. Interesting description of how if we leave those contemplations as a one-time theoretical understanding, at first our meditation might develop. So we may gain proficiency in meditation, but then we may actually use that proficiency as a basis for pursuing our desires or thinking that we don't need to renounce attachment. It's a slippery slope.
So when he says revulsion, he means the bile, bones, that charnel ground stuff. Is that what he means by the revulsion?
No, revulsion is a turning away, a
Just a turning away.
renunciation.
Okay.
Yeah, just the turning away from samsara. It's the more literal translation of renunciation that in the Tibetan tradition, their translation of the term renunciation is revulsion, a turning away from. That being so, we should do as Tilopa instructs. Ke ma, contemplate worldly phenomena well, they do not endure. Being like dreams and illusions, in fact don't exist. Become disenchanted and cast aside worldly activities. Sever your love-hate ties with those around you. Meditate alone in the wilderness, in forests or mountains. That's a tough one, huh? How many of us are willing to do that? Sever our love-hate relationships with our family, friends, and so forth, and disappear. That's a tough one, huh? So we interpret it as being like, well, love, not hate, those around us, but don't become attached with them. I guess is the way we try to relate with that one, but he's pretty adamant on that. The taking of refuge and the arousing of bodhicitta to dispel obstacles. Those of us who seek liberation out of fear and anxiety about the sufferings of samsara. Are you guys worried, like, about death and the sufferings of samsara that will follow and the endless rebirth? Does that keep you up at night? Do you guys like have anxiety? That's what he's talking about. We seek liberation out of fear and anxiety. That's what they actually are implying, that we should have that feeling about the sufferings of samsara, fear and anxiety. You might have to go to a therapist because of being so anxious, or enter the path. Again, I'm getting a lot of blank stares. There's a challenging part of the book, right? Taking refuge, let's see, of samsara, place ourselves under the protection of the three precious jewels, no matter what. Taking refuge is most important since it is the root of the Dharma. The sutras teach whenever someone takes refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, they will see with prajna the four truths for noble ones: suffering, the origins of suffering, the true transcendence of suffering, the happiness of the eightfold path of noble ones, the way to nirvana. I like that, the happiness of the eightfold path. That refuge is primary. That refuge is the best. Relying on that refuge, they will be freed from all sufferings. The benefits of taking refuge are unimaginable. As the synopsis of the Paramitas explains, if the merit of taking refuge had a form, these three realms would be too small of a container. Three realms being the form, the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm, which is another way of slicing up the pie, the great pie of samsara, an alternative slicing compared to the six realms. And the difference is that in the six realms, the God realm spans from the desire realm into the form realm, which is achieved through practicing the absorption states of the form-based absorption states, and then the formless realm is obtained by practicing or perfecting the formless absorptions. So the merit of taking refuge is beyond the entire three realms of samsara. The great ocean is a treasury of water that can't be fathomed by incremental measurements. Specifically, the 8 benefits of taking refuge are that we become Buddhists. We have a support for all other vows. Our karmic obscurations from previous actions are exhausted. That's a good one. We amass vast merit. We do not fall into negative states. We are unaffected by the obstacles of humans and non-humans. We achieve our intentions, and we will quickly awaken.
Could you go back to the our karmic obscurations from previous actions are exhausted? That's by taking refuge. Say something.
Yeah, so he's talking about ultimate refuge is basically like becoming enlightened. It's like if you're able to take refuge in an ultimate way in the three jewels, then it will shrivel your karmic obscurations from past will shrivel up, will be exhausted. The karmic momentum from them will be annihilated, will be exhausted. So he's talking in a very hyperbole fashion here about the sort of ultimate refuge. If we actually take refuge authentically and ultimately and fully in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, it's basically like becoming enlightened, liberated.
Oh, we're just gonna take refuge in Bodhisattva vows with you in the fall, right? And boom.
That's right. Boom. Thank you for clarifying that. That's right. That's what happens. We'll put that in the promotion. In addition to those benefits, it is explained that the Mahayana refuge protects us from falling into paths that do not contain correct methods or into the Mahayana. Oh my God. Therefore, we should take refuge with clear certainty about the objects of refuge, the timing, intention, ceremony, and so forth. This part is very important. Like, sometimes there's refuge ceremonies and people like, oh, they're interested. Oh, yeah, Buddhism is cool. Yeah, I've been a Buddhist since I was a kid. I really resonate with Buddhism. We have this all the time. This happens when we offer vows and people are like come to us and they want to take refuge and they don't have a practice, but they like have read Siddhartha or something, and they're like feel this affinity for Buddhism, and like yeah, it goes really well with the way I practice Christianity, or they think it's just like another thing to do. Um, so it should be done with a very clear awareness of the importance of the objects, the timing, the intention, the ceremony, and so forth. Nowadays, some regard the process of taking refuge simply as a gateway for beginners. Considering it insignificant for future practices, they dismiss it and don't train in the precepts of the refuge vows. And you'll see that sometimes teachers will give empowerments to large groups of people, and within that context, they give them refuge and bodhisattva vows. This used to happen more, I think, than it does now, but you would go to an empowerment, a blessings, what's called a blessing ceremony, empowerment by a great teacher, meaning that you're taking an empowerment where you weren't expected to actually do the practice, but you were receiving blessings from the teacher and the lineage and connecting up to that teacher and lineage. But in the context, they would just give refuge and bodhicitta vows, and they would say, repeat after me, and they would say it in Tibetan. And so everybody would go, and then they would say the next line, and it still happens. Yeah, I'm sure it does. It's sort of both comical and a little bit sad, but it lays the ground. It's like I think the idea that makes it a positive activity is that it lays the ground for a future connection to the a deeper connection to the Dharma, and a future period where one might take refuge in a more intentional manner. This is very unwise, since it is difficult for them to be regarded as Buddhists. Arousing bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the entryway and root of the path for all who have entered the Mahayana and wish to achieve unsurpassable awakening. Nagarjuna says, if you and others in this world wish to attain unsurpassable awakening, you need its root, bodhicitta. Firm is the mighty king of mountains. So bodhicitta is the root of unsurpassable awakening, which is a description of Buddhahood. And the distinction is that there's a level of enlightenment called liberation, which is very far removed from Buddhahood. So Buddhahood is very much more advanced than liberation. On the other hand, both of them are very far removed from people like me. So the difference between them pales. The Gandharva Sutra states, child of good family, bodhicitta is like the seed of all the Buddha's Dharma. Bodhicitta necessarily arises from kindness and compassion for sentient beings. Kindness, presumably a translation of Maitri in Sanskrit. Kindness and compassion come from recognizing that all sentient beings have been our mother, that all mothers have been kind, and that we wish to repay their kindness. So this is a very traditional, very important scheme in the Tibetan Buddhist world, is viewing first that all sentient beings have been our mothers, because we've all been born so many times in the past that with different life situations, different parents, different types of beings and so forth, that the odds are that we have been born as the child of every other sentient being ever that has been in that situation, our parent, our mother. So We say all of our mother sentient beings, and they have a phrase in Tibetan called the Ma Noms, which means all my mother sentient beings, all my mothers, i.e., all sentient beings. And that all mothers have been kind, and this is not a common. This is not a common. This is not a universal experience, particularly in the West in these days, where mothers have been kind, and apparently much more common in the East that mothers have been kind. And the mother's kindness is like the epitome of loving kindness, in that a mother will give selflessly their own body as the home for a child for 9 months, and then as the source of sustenance for a child for 9 months. At least those two things. And then, as many of you know, so many other things that mothers give their children. It's incomprehensible. It's very bizarre, in fact. Just kidding. It's the most amazing thing in the world. And therefore, we wish to repay that kindness to all sentient beings who have been our mothers. This is a very standard contemplation, very important contemplation in the cultivation of bodhicitta. Since bodhicitta depends on having an altruistic attitude, we must think well about those points and cultivate that attitude. The benefits of cultivating kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta are described in numerous texts, such as the following. The Precious Garland by Nagarjuna teaches, even giving away 3 times a day food in 300 cooking pots does not match a portion of the merit of just one instant of kindness. That's pretty powerful. So we see in recent times there's very common focus on kindness as being the sort of most essential and all-pervasive positive quality that sentient beings or humans can cultivate.
And so giving away food is not kind, or it could be kind, but it could not be kind.
Yeah, it depends on the attitude, but the very activity, the activity itself, is not nearly as meritorious as having one moment of kindness. And presumably, if you're able to maintain kindness while you're giving away that food, then
so it's a heart state of openness.
Yeah, kindness, yeah. Wishing well, wishing others well, oneself and others. Even though you may not be liberated, you will attain the 8 virtues of kindness. Gods and humans will feel kindly towards you and will offer their protection. You will have much happiness and mental ease and be unharmed by poisons and weapons. Effortlessly, you will achieve your aims and be born in the world of Brahma. Another example of extreme hyperbole, just like with taking refuge, that statement of the benefits of taking refuge, because we all know from experience when we have been kind that we don't quite enjoy these 8 virtues necessarily maybe as much as we would like. The account of the noble deeds of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, says if having one quality is like having all the Buddha's qualities in the palm of your hand, what is that one? It is great compassion. And so great compassion is the 3rd stage of a scheme of 3 stages of compassion, beginning with compassion for sentient beings who are suffering, compassion for all sentient beings, and then compassion without reference point, great compassion. Chandrakirti, in the opening of his most famous text, The Introduction to the Middle Way, Madhyamaka Avatara, the main text for the Shadra curriculum for the Madhyamaka Middle Way topic, says, since kindness is said to be the seed for the victor's abundant harvest, to be like water that causes growth and what ripens into a state enjoyed for a long time, I begin this text with a praise of compassion. The Sutra of the Questions of Viddhadatta says, if bodhicitta's merit were to take a form, it would be grander than something filling the whole of space. It continues, one person may feel Buddha fields, fill Buddha fields, equaling the number of grains of sand in the Ganges River. It's the most common and prevalent way of enumerating infinity with precious substances and offer them to the Sugatas. Another who joins their palms together and bows to bodhicitta makes a superior offering, one without limit. Furthermore, it is explained that aspirational bodhicitta has 8 benefits. So aspirational bodhicitta is the first of 2 types of relative bodhicitta, and relative bodhicitta is the second of 2 types of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta comes in two sizes or 2 types. Ultimate bodhicitta, which is understanding the ultimate nature of reality, and relative bodhicitta is the mind set on enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. And relative bodhicitta has 2 types: aspiring to be able to provide the ultimate benefit for all sentient beings, which is Buddhahood, and then engaging bodhicitta is actually going about and trying to help all sentient beings, including oneself, achieve Buddhahood. So aspiring and engaging or entering. The 8 benefits are: it brings us into the Mahayana. It is the support for all the trainings in bodhicitta, all the subsequent trainings. It annihilates all our negative actions. It sets down the roots of awakening. It confers unmeasurable merit. It pleases all the Buddhas. It benefits all sentient beings, and it brings awakening quickly. Another incredibly hyperbole-like list of the benefits of aspiring bodhicitta. But interesting point, this idea of aspiring bodhicitta, that cultivating bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, the intention of enlightenment for all sentient beings, for the purpose of being able to benefit all sentient beings ultimately, meaning by bringing them to enlightenment. Before engaging in it, cultivating that aspiration. It's very important in this tradition, actually cultivating that aspiration. So beginning with the 4 measurables and then going further into bodhicitta. Let's see, additionally, engaged bodhicitta, the second type of relative bodhicitta, has many benefits, including being the source of a stream of benefit for oneself and a variety of benefits for others. Having developed certainty about the objects of meditation for and natures of kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, we must earnestly cultivate them, because it is explained that roots of virtue in general and meditation on emptiness specifically that lack bodhicitta are not the path of the Mahayana, or causes of perfect awakening. So if you do the same practices as outlined here or in other Mahayana texts, but without bodhicitta, they don't have the effect that one is actually wishing for. The offering of mandalas to amass the accumulations, broadly speaking, if we do not amass a collection of causal merit. So he says causal merit as if there's non-causal merit, but I don't know that there is merit that's non-causal. I think he's sort of emphasizing that merit is a cause and result sort of situation. It acts as a cause and condition for one progressing on the path. We will not achieve either temporal or lasting happiness. So if we don't amass a collection of merit, we will not achieve happiness, particularly if we do not gather a stock of merit as the means for amassing a collection of resultant wisdom. We will not realize the view of emptiness. So he's implying that merit is a causal factor in the scheme of the path of overcoming the 2 obstructions to enlightenment, which are the cognitive delusions and the klesha, or afflictive emotional obstruction.
So bad guys don't wake up.
That's right. bad guys don't wake up. Is that the title of a movie? So we won't realize the view of emptiness. We won't. We need actually merit in order to cultivate wisdom. Therefore, it is important to gather a collection of merit in the beginning. The sutras state, because merit brings happiness, human beings should amass merit. They should do so again and again. They should do so this very day. From the verses that summarize the Prajnaparamita Sutras, interestingly, he quotes frequently from this text, which is one of the earliest Prajnaparamita Sutras. As long as the roots of virtue are not complete, genuine emptiness is not achieved. The benefits or purpose of accruing accumulations are stated or explained in the Sutra on the Inconceivable Secret Teachings of the Tathagatas. The accumulation of wisdom eliminates the mental afflictions. The accumulation of merit sustains sentient beings. Bhagawan, this being so, Bodhisattva Mahasattvas should apply themselves to amassing the accumulations of merit and wisdom. So two things. Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, great Mahasattva, great being Bodhisattvas. So not like beginner Bodhisattvas, but Bodhisattvas who are on the paths or the higher stages of the Bhumis are Mahasattva Bodhisattvas. They're really succeeding in their accumulations that overcome the afflictions, the obstructions to Buddhahood. So the accumulation of wisdom eliminates the mental afflictions, one of the two obstructions to enlightenment. It also eliminates the cognitive obscuration or obstructions, the two obstructions. The accumulation of merit sustains sentient beings, is what helps other sentient beings and supports, as we saw in the earlier quote, our cultivation or accumulation of wisdom. Nagarjuna's precious garland remarks to summarize the form kaya. So kaya here referring to the manifestation of the Buddha. The Buddha manifests in a form, with form, in terms of the Sambhogakaya, the body of bliss, and then Nirmanakaya, the transformation body that transforms itself in accordance with the needs and capabilities and situations of sentient beings. And then there's the formless kaya, the Dharma kaya. So to summarize the form kaya, king, the precious garland is the text written for a king. It arises from the collection of merit. So this is how this scheme works in the Mahayanas, that the accumulation of merit develops the form kayas, the Sambhogakaya, the Nirmanakaya, and the collection of wisdom leads to the achievement of the Dharmakaya. To summarize the Dharmakaya king, it arises from the collection of wisdom. In brief, all the benefits of the 6 paramitas are the benefits of the 2 accumulations. Also, generally speaking, the methods for accruing merit are to train in the 10 Dharma activities. You all know what the 10 Dharma activities are, right? So the 10 Dharma, we look in our list of numerical lists, whatever that's called, in the back here, the glossary of enumerations, and we find number 10 on page 652. The 10 Dharma activities begins with writing the scriptures. And this is usually translated as copying the scriptures, because most of us don't write scriptures. We use the word write to mean like author, but most of us are not the author of scriptures. This is referring to before printing presses and even wood blocks, people used to copy texts all over the world. And this was considered a highly meritorious activity in the Buddhist world, as copying scriptures and thereby making other versions of important Buddhist teachings available for other people to read and study. And so these days, one of the ways of accumulating this virtue is to help me with converting texts from books into really nice versions in Word that we can then use in source books for classes. So I invite all of you to contact me and uh, offer yourself to do that meritorious activity or to transcribe classes from this program, the Rime Shedra, as many people here have done both of those activities, for which I'm very grateful and for which they amass great merit. Anyway, making offerings, being generous, listening to the Dharma, memorizing the Dharma, memorizing the text of the Dharma. For us, we're lucky, like we memorize the four Dharmas at Gampopa, or the chants, like the morning and evening chants. That's good. If you know, at least try to memorize the chants, right? Reading the Dharma, yeah, do that. Explaining the Dharma, yeah, try to explain to yourself or to other people, like, what does this mean? What does that mean? Reciting the Dharma, chanting, contemplating the meaning of the Dharma. Do that all day, of course, and meditate on the meaning of the Dharma. Do that daily, of course. Although generally speaking, the methods for accruing merit are to train in the 10 Dharma activities and the 4 ways of gathering students. The 4 ways of gathering students are, what do they like to give them money and food and clothing, something like that. The 4 ways of gathering disciples, being generous with the Dharma and material goods. How do you like that? Dharma teachers are supposed to like help support their students, speaking pleasantly, not making silly jokes like I do constantly, conducting oneself in a meaningful way, and being consistent with the point of the teachings. In this context, it is explained that the accumulations are amassed through the sevenfold service with an emphasis on the branch of offerings in the form of mandalas. So the sevenfold offering is a traditional Mahayana practice that includes the following: prostrating, confessing, rejoicing, requesting to remain. So it's really prostrating or offering to the noble ones, confessing one's shortcomings, rejoicing in the presence of the 3 jewels, teachers, teachings, and so forth, the Sangha, requesting teachers to remain. Hey, can you stay a few more days? You don't need to go to the next city yet. Come on. When we have Tibetan teachers visit, always trying to get them to come visit us. Please stay, teach us. So then requesting to remain, requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma.
And also requesting them not to pass into parinirvana too soon.
Yeah, requesting them not to pass into parinirvana too soon. How do we do that, Cynthia?
Well, the best way is to actually practice what they teach, I think. Isn't that what they say? If the students actually practice.
That's right. Yeah, that's the best way. And then second best is doing their longevity supplications for those
Yes.
teachers. Yeah. So requesting, rejoicing in their presence, requesting them to remain and teach, and requesting them not to pass away into nirvana. And then
Songsar Khyentse Rinpoche also requested that people do Riro Sancho.
song, song offerings, smoke
Yeah.
offerings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not many people know how to do that though. Maybe you can teach us. Show
It's
us.
not difficult. You just have to have the text, and they actually sell sticks of Riro Sancho incense now. You don't even have to amass all the different substances yourself.
Right.
You can
They have
actually buy it already
combined.
made,
That's great.
Yeah, and so it's not terribly difficult.
That's great. The modern wonders of modern technology. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Feel free to share that with us. That
Oh, well, I have
information.
the Dujam Tersar text that I have the lung for, and so I just read that text and burn my little incense stick every day, and that's my contribution for the lamas.
That's great. So yeah, practices like supplicating for their longevity or doing
Yeah,
this.
there's actually a statement in there, may the lamas not depart from this world, blah blah blah. May the invitations to the lama to leave this world be averted.
Oh,
and
that's
so
a great line. You're,
yes, yeah, it's actually a really great line, and in the context was is that he was, you know, I don't know what brought it up, but he was saying that it was, during, especially during your teacher's obstacle year, it's good to recite the Rio Sancho prayers because it has the statement in there about, preventing the Lama from leaving the world.
yeah, yeah, that's a very literal thing in the Tibetan tradition where they have this view that there's other beings in other realms that are actively supplicating great teachers to leave this realm and join them in the
Yes.
other realm.
Yeah.
And that was the case with Trungpa Rinpoche. When he was ill, other teachers came and said, you have to actively do this practice. They gave us at one point a practice of reversing the invitation of the Dakinis.
Yes.
And like saying, please don't take him. Please leave him here with us for a
Hmm.
while longer.
So that's an interesting question about generosity because are we, being selfish in doing that? Maybe those other beings need them as much or more than we do.
I don't know. Given the realms that they're supposed to be inhabiting, I have a feeling we need them more than they do. But that's beyond my pay grade. But it's an interesting phenomenon.
Hmm.
Anyway, so the last one is the dedication of merit. So the sevenfold offering of the Mahayana clearly is the precursor for the Nundro practices. And so that's what he's sort of melding, weaving together here. The way to offer mandalas is as follows. Those of us belonging to the practice lineage should create or visualize the practice mandala however we can as the field for amassing the accumulations and then present offering mandalas to that. So this term of field for amassing the accumulations, you often see this term in the Vajrayana text, the field of merit. So this is this idea that this world is a field of merit for us because there's so much suffering and so much need that there's so much opportunity for us to cultivate and generate and accumulate merit by kindness and offering and so on and so forth. As I said, without any reservations, present what you can imagine, things you own, whatever you can set out. So in the Nundro, there's this formalized way of offering everything in the universe to the lineage, to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And it's wonderful practice because you're giving away things you don't have, which is very easy. I'm just kidding. You're also giving away everything you have. We also gather the accumulation by means of the sevenfold service, homage or prostrating offerings, requesting teachings, supplicating not to pass into nirvana, amass the accumulations. Confession purifies obscurations. So that's usually the second of the seven. Rejoicing increases virtue. The I left out offering, prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, supplicating, and dedicating. Dedication vastly increases the virtue of that amassing, purifying, increasing it, and ensures the accumulations do not lose their potency, since it is taught that these are the ways to achieve immeasurable heaps of merit. We should greatly exert ourselves towards them. The meditation and recitations of Vajrasattva to cleanse obscurations throughout our beginningless sequence of lives until the present time. The maturation of the negativity of our bad actions has been a powerful force obscuring liberation, realizations on the paths towards omniscience, and accumulation of the result. Actualization of the result. While those have not been purified, we have experienced suffering, wandering endlessly in samsara, and we will continue to experience the sufferings of samsara no matter what, like a stream flowing through a water wheel. This image of a water wheel is a very famous one that also is used in Chandrakirti's opening verses of the Madhyamaka where he says sentient beings are helplessly um, transported around the six realms of samsara like water that goes through a water wheel, or like the buckets in a water wheel, just like constantly goes down. So we go down to the lower realms, and then we go up to the upper realms, and then we go down and again, and so forth. stream flowing through water. Therefore, we should apply ourselves to purifying our negative actions and obscurations. The collection of meaningful expressions warns even a small negative action can cause great fear and massive destruction in the next world. Like what happens when we swallow poison, and also says the maturation of negative actions, wild and evil actions done for the sake of your own happiness, result in experiences that'll make you weep. There are many such sayings. This is what I was talking about fear of death. Like, when you die, your karma ripens. A lot of it ripens. You never know what's lying in your past. The methods for purifying negative actions are typically said to be the 4 powers, which are listed in the sutra teaching 4 qualities. Maitreya. If bodhisattva mahasattvas have 4 qualities, they will overpower the negative actions that they have done and amassed. What are the 4? They are thus the practice of repudiation. Interesting translation. It's usually like remorse or regret. The application of remedies, turning away from wrongdoing, and the power of reliance. The first power, so these are the 4 powers that one learns about when one does mantra practice. Mantra practice. And that one is actually cultivating as one does Vajrasattva mantra practice. The first power is to confess previous negative actions with remorse. The second includes memorizing or reading the sutras, having conviction about emptiness, performing recitations, creating statues or rupas, making offerings to those, and reciting the names of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And that is called above the application of remedies. The third power is to refrain from committing the 10 unvirtuous actions from today onwards, this time on. The fourth power includes taking refuge, cultivating bodhicitta, and the like. The power of reliance means relying on a pure support, the support of the 3 jewels. In terms of taking refuge, cultivating bodhicitta, relying on the most important faculty for Buddhahood. Relying upon Vajrasattva in particular during Vajrasattva practice, even though those are the usual means for purifying negative actions. In this context, we make confessions on the basis of meditation and recitation of Vajrasattva's mantra. If we have remorse for negative actions and a resolve to refrain from them from now on, all 4 powers are actually present. Specifically, the methods for purifying negative actions are taught to be verbal recitations, such as the Tantra of the Questions of Subahu. Such as the Tantra of the Questions of Subahu says, just as the flames of a fire spreading through the woods in early summer would consume the wilderness without impediment, the fire of verbal recitations flamed by exertion and fanned by the winds of ethical conduct will consume negative actions, just as snow when struck by sunlight cannot withstand the intensity and melts. The snow of negative actions vanishes when the sunlight of verbal recitation and ethical conduct strikes. Just as when a small candle is lit in a dark room, the darkness vanishes. The candle flame of verbal recitation quickly vanquishes the darkness of negative actions amassed during thousands of lifetimes. Right from the first moment, wrongdoings and downfalls are committed, regardless of which one of the 4 causes is involved. Ignorance, excessive mental afflictions, carelessness, or lack of respect. They should not be tolerated. So the 4 causes for generating negative karma. We should repeatedly confess them. The collection of meaningful expressions instructs, do not scorn even a tiny negative action thinking it won't cause any harm. By gathering small drops of water, eventually you can fill a large container. The excellent Siddhi Tantra states, any careless things you have done during the day should be confessed one by one at night. Those done at night should be confessed in the day. Do that well and you will feel delight. The meditation and recitations of Vajrasattva, the ornament of the heart, teaches visualize Vajrasattva on top of a white lotus and moon seed. Recite the 100 syllables according to the ritual 20 times each. This is a highly abbreviated version, since these days one has to recite it 108,000 times. Given his blessing as you confess downfalls, he says, they will not increase. Thus do the supreme accomplished ones explain. Do this between sessions. If you perform this recitation 100,000 times, you will become a purified being. Many teachers give shortened versions these days, considering the circumstances of our world and our bodies. The meditation of Guru Yoga to receive blessings. Overall, the sutras and tantras teach that studying with a guru is the root of the path that aims for liberation. They describe in detail guru's qualifications, the way we should study with them, the purpose of such study, and the benefits. The secret mantra texts in particular explain that siddhis accompany acharyas, and they teach extensively about how we must be attentive to the way we study with them, since this practice lineage is called the path of blessings. It especially emphasizes that the development of meditation, when it has not yet developed, and the enhancement of it once it has developed, depend upon the blessings of the Guru. We should therefore apply ourselves to meditating upon Guru Yoga. We may ask, what is the reason for that? Gurus are praiseworthy as the name chanting Manjushri Tantra, which is the Manjushri Nama Samgiti, the first Tantra in the Tantra collection of the Conjure, says, worthy of offerings, worthy of honor, place of homage, always worthy of worship, worthy of veneration, supreme among those to be respected, the sublime Guru is worthy of homage. It is also said, homage to the Guru, embodiment of the Buddha's essence of Vajradhara, root of the three jewels. The purpose of undertaking study with a Guru, it is to be able to achieve both temporal and ultimate siddhis. Bhavideva, an alternate name for Ashvagosha, states, Vajradhara teaches that siddhis follow the acharyas, similar to what was stated above. He also says, I bow at the lotus feet of the Guru, the cause for attaining the state of glorious Vajrasattva. This comes from a famous text by Ashvagosha called The 50 Stanzas on Guru Devotion, where he gives very specific ways of behaving to a guru that includes something that some of you have experienced from me, which is you don't point your feet at a guru, nor to the shrine, nor to similar representations. If you need to stretch out, like you go to a talk by a Tibetan teacher, you don't stretch out your legs towards that teacher. You stretch out your legs in another direction. Tibetan teachers will consider doing that to be highly insulting. The way to meditate on the Guru, the ornament of the Vajra heart, says the disciple with constant devotion to the Guru looks upon them in this way. The Guru is the same as the Buddhas, always Vajradhara. The Vajrapanjara teaches the one known as Vajrasattva takes the form of an acharya with the aim of helping sentient beings. He remains in an ordinary form. And Bhavideva Ashvagosha says, do not regard the Guru as separate from Vajradhara, from that same text, which is available also in translation. On the internet, you can Google the 50 stanzas of Guru Devotions. Interesting text you might be interested in. The way to meditate upon the Guru is the embodiment of all Buddhas. The Vajradhaka instructs the Guru's form is of the nature of all Buddhas. Their limbs are the Bodhisattvas. Their body hairs are arhats. The crown of their head is the Buddhas of the five families. Worldly ones are the seats below their feet, and their light rays are secret yaksha and others. Yogic practitioners should always see the Guru's form as being of the nature of such excellent qualities. There are similar statements in the Chaturpita root texts, the four-part Tantra and its commentaries. We should learn more about these modes. So the Guru is held to be, in the Vajrayana tradition, equal to or higher, more important than the Buddhas, because the Guru is the one that we connect to, that we experience the Dharma from. We don't actually meet the Buddhas in person, but we can meet a Guru in person if we're lucky. The purpose of meditating in that way, Acharya Radhakara Shanti explains explains that we do this to equalize our faith in Vajradhara and the Guru. Equalize our faith, meaning viewing the Guru and Vajradhara as the same. Stabilize the pride of Vajradhara. This is a reference to a unique aspect of Vajrayana deity practice called pride of the deity, which means without arrogance, actually having the conviction and the certainty that the Guru is the deity, or if you're doing deity yoga practice, that oneself is actually the deity. One's true nature is the deity. And it's a key factor in the path of deity yoga. And quickly become accomplished by amassing the accumulations of merit and wisdom with little effort. The making of special offerings to and worship of the Guru, along with the benefits of doing so. The 5 stages by Panchakrama by Nagarjuna says, put aside all other forms of worship and concentrate on worshiping the Guru. By pleasing them, you will attain supreme omniscient wisdom. In the Nyingma tradition, it's common for practitioners to practice Dzogchen and Guru Yoga. And that's it. The Guhya Samaja Tantra states, worshipping a single hair of the Guru's body is of greater merit than worshipping the Buddhas of the 3 times. That's an interesting statement. The Samputa explains, which is another Tantra, offer each and everything of beauty to your Guru with no expectations. The ornament of the Vajrahart comments, with all your energy, worship your Guru, Vajradhara. Accordingly, you will please them, and that will please all Buddhas. Bhavideva Ashwagosha says, those who long for what is inexhaustible should offer to the Guru whatever is pleasing, regardless of whether it is exceptional or merely a trifle. To give in that way is identical to continuously giving to the Buddhas. To give in that way collects merit. That collection results in the supreme city. The value of arousing the force of faith and devotion in the Guru is explained by the 10 Dharma Sutras. To have faith in guides with the wish for definite emergence is the supreme of jhanas. Thus intelligent people follow and study with those with faith. Virtuous qualities will not be born in humans with no faith, just as a green sprout will not arise from a seed burnt by fire. Interesting comparison that without faith we're like burnt seeds. The precious torch Dharani Sutra also explains this. Faith is a prerequisite. It engenders like a mother. It protects all virtues and increases them. It slays doubts and transports us across rivers. Faith reveals a city of peace and goodness. Faith is free from turbidity, and clarifies the mind. It replaces pride and is the root of respect. Faith is a gem, a treasure, and the best of feet. That was funny, I think. The best of feet. I mean, what is that? I guess feet are very important, right?
The way you walk on a path, maybe?
Yeah, the way you move from place to place. Yeah, I don't know. There's this fixation on the Guru's feet in some traditions, but anyway, that's more of a Hindu thing. Like a hand, it is the basis for gathering up virtue. Yeah, it's probably the best of feet to tread on the path. Thank you, Cynthia. Recalling the Guru's kindness, our powerful longing brings us close to tears, the Gandharva says. Sudana Kumara. Spiritual mentors protect you from the negative states. They enable you to realize the equality of phenomena. They show you which paths are good and which are not. They instruct you in the conduct of Samantabhadra. They show you the path to the city of omniscience. They escort you to the place of omniscience. They bring you to the ocean of the Dharma Dhatu. They explain the ocean of noble objects, and the 3 times they reveal the mandalas of the assembly of noble ones. Spiritual mentors increase your virtuous qualities. Bear this in mind and weep.
I just think that whole thing was so beautiful.
That is, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So spiritual mentors is a translation of Kalyana Mitra in Sanskrit, which Trungpa Rinpoche calls spiritual friends. slightly different than gurus, but sort of the um, intermediary between physicians and gurus, or just somebody who explains things or provides instructions. It's a step further in terms of help on the path. There are many such sayings. If we have devotion, we will receive blessings. If we receive blessings, realization of the mind will follow. The two-part observes the connate cannot be described by others, cannot be discovered anywhere. Follow your guru's timing and her methods, and you will recognize it with your merit. What does this mean? Your guru's timing. Is that like you're in a band and like you have to synchronize watches with your guru? It's such an interesting statement. Follow your guru's timing. Nagarjuna says, once you begin falling from the peak of Mount Meru, you will keep falling despite thinking, I can't fall. Once you discover the beneficial path with the kindness of the Guru, you will be liberated despite thinking, I can't be liberated. In other words, the power of the teacher. Gampopa teaches, ours is the lineage of blessings. If we do not receive our Guru's blessings, it is impossible for us to experience the actual transmission of Mahamudra. For those who receive their Guru's blessings, there are no difficulties. Those with devotion will receive them, meaning their blessings, by supplicating. Those with the greatest degree of devotion will receive the greatest degree of blessings. Those with an intermediate degree of devotion will receive an intermediate degree of blessings, and those with a lesser degree of devotion will receive a lesser degree of blessings. Those with no devotion will receive absolutely no blessings, and this is the way of things. He also says this: the means of arousing realization in those for whom it has not yet arisen is to supplicate the Guru with devotion and honor them. There is no other way. The means of stabilizing realization in those for whom it has arisen is to have devotion for the Guru and habituated themselves to that. He concludes, as for how to supplicate while walking here and there, supplicate. While sitting around, supplicate. When waking up, supplicate. In other words, at all times, supplicate the Guru, the Gurus, the Buddhas, the noble ones. So essential for the path of Mahamudra. Much, much more than Abhisheka. That is what is well known in this practice lineage. The practice lineage is the lineage of blessings. Adhisthana. Nowadays, the custom of those who know the esoteric instructions is to do Guru Yoga meditation as follows. When confessing impaired or broken vows and strains to your Guru, meditate upon them as being in front of you or on your head while you remain in your ordinary form. In all other contexts, since it is not appropriate to receive abhishekas in your ordinary form, meditate upon yourself as a yidam and meditate that your Guru is Vajradhara, the embodiment of all Buddhas above your head. Present to them mandalas and the like as the outer, inner, and secret offerings. With strong devotion, supplicate them for your desired aims. Request the samadhi abhishek, the abhishek of samadhi, like that. In the end, meditate that your Guru dissolves into you. This way of practicing Guru Yoga is excellent because it contains many key points of the paths of maturation and liberation. So maturation is the path of skillful means, the liberation is the path of wisdom. So this is a little summary of Guru Yoga, a great little summary and distinction of, like, if you're requesting repairing your vows or confessing or whatever, you are in your normal human body, whereas if you are practicing Guru Yoga, you visualize yourself in a different body, which is not the way Nundro is done, at least in the Kagyu tradition. When we do Guru Yoga and then Nundro, the Kagyu tradition, we are in our ordinary body and supplicating the Guru on top of our head. Interesting difference. The locations for meditating on the Gurus are explained in the Abhidhamma. When the Guru possessing kindness is seated in the center of someone's heart, on the crown of their head, or the palm of their hand, that person holds the virtues of 1,000 Buddhas. this phrase, Buddha in the palm of your hand, is such an interesting one. The exalted Gampopa mostly taught that we should meditate on our Guru as being in the space in front. The exalted Yongumpa says during offerings and Gana chakras, the Guru is in the sky in front when supplicating, there above your head. At all times, the Guru is in the center of your heart. The signs of having meditated intently on the preliminary practices are as follows. In the base, having contemplated impermanence, we will turn away in both our attitude and behavior from attachment to sense pleasures and the seductions of this life. Contentment, the feeling of not needing anything, will arise in our mind stream. Our focus will become more immediate. Our 8 worldly values pacified and our mind stream tamed. On the basis of taking refuge, we will experience serenity, inspiration, cheerfulness, and a sense of ease. On the basis of offering mandalas, we will have a clear complexion, joy, no feelings of hunger, even when we have not eaten, lucid awareness, and our prajna will grow. As
Derek?
always, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I had a question about the Guru Yoga.
Yeah.
So the text I have here, it says, from a state of emptiness, I transform into Vajravarahi, standing upon a lotus corpse and sun disk. My root guru, the mighty Vajradhara, dwells on my crown.
Cool.
So am I supposed to see myself as, it sounds like I'm supposed to see myself as Vajravarahi.
That's right. Yeah.
But you were saying that your text doesn't say that, or
Yeah.
that we're supposed to be, your text says that
You've,
you're in your regular body?
yeah. Our text does not say anything about transforming your body, so the instructions do not include anything about visualizing ourselves. And we use the Karmakagyu texts.
That's what I thought this was. This is the Tergar Nundro, which I thought was the standard Karmakaju Nundro.
Who else here has done the Karmakagyu Nundra? Anyone?
I've done Karmakagyu Nundro.
Do you recollect this
Does your
aspect?
text mention that Vajravarahi?
No, we do it. I believe our Nundra was in ordinary body, and it's very common to have those. I mean, those differences are not uncommon. That there are some, you know,
Texts
yeah, like
do
there's
different.
Even within the Karmakaju?
yeah, like there's
Oh,
a
okay.
Guru Yoga I do for the Vajradhara that's ordinary. Yeah, there's some that are ordinary body. There are some that are, you visualize as yourself as some. Sometimes you visualize yourself as the same thing that you're visualizing. It varies. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, interesting. Thank you.
all good.
Yeah, yeah. That's a cool one that you have there. Yeah, so the one that we use by Wangshik Dorje, the 9th Karmapa, on the top of my head is my root guru, Vajradhara, and there's nothing about transforming myself into anything.
Well, it's funny because right on the cover of my book it says, "The Chariot for Traveling the Noble Path" by the 9th Karmapa, Wangchuk Dorje.
Wow.
So I don't know how to explain that.
That is
Editors,
amazing difference. Wow.
different editors.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know how you get that kind of a difference. It's theoretically it says right there on the front. It
It's the
says
same text
by
by
the 9th
the
Karmapa,
same
Wangchuk
person.
Dorje. So I
Wow.
don't know. Interesting. Okay.
That is fascinating. Who translated that? The Tergar team or something?
Let me see here. Probably Cortland Dahl. He normally does their stuff. Yep, Cortland Dahl.
Wow. That's cool. I'll ask Larry Mermelstein of the translation committee if he's aware of that. That's neat. Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was standard, but apparently not.
Yeah, one would think so.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Karl Brunholzl has some insight on this.
We could ask the Tergar people for all that matter. That's the easiest thing to do in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, ask Cortland.
I'm sure he'd be happy to share.
Yeah, hold on just a second here.
We'll call him up. We'll dial him up.
No, what is it? What day is that? Oh, actually, I will be able to ask him tomorrow.
Cool.
because
Let us
he
know.
does these once or twice a month. He does these what
Q&A.
he calls these the Dharma Geek sessions with the Tergar students. And so tomorrow happens to be our monthly Dharma Geek session. So I'll have to ask him that question. I'll report back.
That's great. Please let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And give him our regards.
Of course.
On the base of offering mandalas, we will have clear complexions, so our acne will clear up. That's a big plus for young people, right? Joy, no feelings of hunger even when we've not eaten. It's good for dieting. Lucid awareness, and our prajna will grow as omens and dreams. Maybe dream of the sun or moon rising. I don't know if anyone has these sort of dreams. Seeing many flowers, walking upwards, and so on. On the base of the meditation recitation of Vajrasattva, our body will become light. We will sleep less, feel healthy and lighthearted. As omens and dreams, we may dream of pus and blood oozing from our body, vomiting or excreting, and bathing. On the base of Guru Yoga meditation, we may feel that we wish to touch our Guru when we are in their presence. Our mind may become captivated by our Guru and we yearn for them. We may wish to supplicate them day and night. Experiences may blaze and our perceptions fade. As omens and dreams, we may dream of meeting our Guru, that they explain the Dharma or bestow abhishekas. Interestingly, he presents mandala before Vajrasattva practice, which is not the standard order these days. Such accounts are found in the teachings of all those of the practice lineage. Anyone who considers these preliminaries to be only things beginners need to boost their meditation at first and to be of little significance after that are greatly ignorant of the vital points of the Dharma, because these teachings are the main support for the Mahayana path. Interesting, he says all this stuff that we consider to be Nundro for Vajrayana, he says these are the main support for the Mahayana path. Now Vajrayana is not separate from the Mahayana, it's an aspect of the Mahayana. But interesting, since I'm afraid of being too wordy here. He's constantly afraid of that. I mean, he ended up, with like a 500-page book. I have presented only a tiny bit on this subject. Nevertheless, the preliminaries are the root of the Dharma and central to the path, and therefore crucial. It is important that we listen to and reflect upon the teachings about the extensive, graduated path and the like, come to a definitive understanding in a thorough way, and apply ourselves to this over an extended period of time. That's inspiring for those of us that have not yet encountered Nundro to try to do that. Try to receive transmission and do Nundro practice. But not essential, according to Gampopa, but very helpful. Any final comments or suggestions or anything? So I sent out the schedule, so we'll continue on, and we'll meet on June 18th, and then we'll conclude earlier on July 2nd before Interdependence Day. Let's conclude with our dedication of merit. Dedication. By this merit may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death from the ocean of samsara. May I free all beings. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great east, may the lotus garden of the Rigden's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled, and may all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Derek.
Be well.
Thank you.
And
Bye
take care.
bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.